Helping Seniors Television, all about improving quality of life for seniors. If you're a senior, know a senior, or plan to be a senior, then this show is for you. It's all about helping you develop your own aging plan so you can age actively and with dignity. Helping Seniors Television from the Helping Seniors Network of information, education, and resources.
Hi, I'm Kerry Fink with Helping Seniors of Brevard. Welcome to Helping Seniors of Brevard Television. It's a pleasure to have you joining us today. And as you know, Helping Seniors of Brevard, we're a Florida nonprofit organization, and we're dedicated to helping you figure out the best plan for your aging plans. You know, they tell us all the time when we grow up as a young child, we should have a plan for what we want to do in our career and make plans and take the right kind of schooling that's necessary for what those are, etc. And then as we get older, they say, well, okay, now you should be planning for your retirement and things like that. But when we hit retirement age, now is a good time for us to put together an aging plan that will serve us as we continue to make a few more trips around the sun. So I'm Kerry Fink, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to the show today. I have the privilege of sitting in for our president and founder, Joe Steckler, and we're now moving into the 10th year of Helping Seniors, and it's really my pleasure today to introduce you to our special guest, Kelly McDavid Rallis. Thank you for being here with us today. We're going to have a good time talking about home health care and what you guys do through Home Health Care Resources Corporation. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
You know, we were talking before the camera was on, that you can always tell when somebody has such a passion for helping seniors and just working with people, because it really is, it's something that comes from the heart. And Kelly, when you were talking, I was asking you about your background and how you got into this business, and you said you started really young. You started at age 12 as a volunteer in a hospital. And I made the observation, I've always been so impressed with the people who take time out of their day to volunteer in a hospital setting, because it's a high stress situation and all of that. And you took the time to volunteer. Tell us a little bit about that. So you were the original candy striper and all that.
I sure was. At the age of 12, I had a sister who was working there as a nurse, and I got the opportunity to join her during my days, especially in the summertime. And I was able to just meet so many wonderful, beautiful people, especially our seniors on the geriatric floor, and fell in love. I just knew that this is a place I wanted to be. They had so many wonderful stories to share, so many words of wisdom, and I knew that that was a path that I wanted to travel, to spend more time with our geriatric population.
And you know, as we're talking about, you can always tell somebody who's serious about doing the right thing for seniors, because when you talk to them about the things that they've done along the way, you get a sense of service. And you mentioned that along the way, in terms of being involved in not only medical management and things like that, but you were also talking about your work with a hospice organization and things like that. So this is really a territory that you've really grown up with since your childhood.
Absolutely. I have about 35 years involved in our care for our senior population and for others.
That's fascinating. And one of the things that we were going to talk about today, the title of our show is actually Home Health versus Home Care. And we want to get into a little bit of that because, you know, for those of us who are sort of on the outside, what we understand in broad strokes is such a 35,000-foot view of what really goes on. So as you know, if you end up in a hospital, then they send you home and they say, we're going to recommend that we have physical therapy, occupational therapy come by your house. And there's a certain period of time that Medicare organizes that, but that only ends up being part of what's needed to make a full recovery and do the things we do. And that's where organizations like Home Health Care Resources Corporation really fit in that gap. So I wanted to ask you maybe first, to help us frame this whole discussion correctly, if we say home health versus home care, how do you explain that to somebody that really, to us, we don't know? It's just somebody showing up in our driveway that's here to help us.
Well, first and foremost, like it says, in home care, we provide care in other individuals' homes.
Oh.
So our services, our home health aides and CNAs are providing care in a person's home.
Okay.
So wherever their residence may be, we are providing those services there.
Okay.
Secondly, I would say that think of it this way, it's non-medical. So
Okay.
our caregivers provide home care inside someone's home that also benefits the service of their home, their daily activities of daily living and those needs
Right.
that they need daily,
Right.
or it's also helping them with their personal needs,
Okay.
their personal care.
So one of the things that we were looking at, I said, if you thought about home health care services, these are the kind of things that you guys provide. It says 24/7 visiting nurses, ambulation, and transferring. So this is like if, let's say, you've come back or you have a situation where it's difficult for you to move from your bed to the living room or from one place to a restroom or things like that. Those are the things we're talking about. You talk about bathing and dressing. It says companion services, light housekeeping, live-in assistance, meal preparation, medication reminders, nutrition support, personal care, physical, occupational, and recreational therapy, shopping and doctor's visits, showering and toileting. And you also make the statement that all of our caregivers are trained and licensed in Alzheimer and dementia patient care. So you really are able to talk to a broad spectrum of needs.
We really are. Although physical, occupational, and recreation therapy are not a direct service that we provide, we partner with many skilled agencies who do perform those services. But our goal is to help make a person's life easier and make them feel stronger so that they can maintain independent living in their own environment.
Right. Now, you guys are a company that serves actually, I guess it's 4 different counties, Brevard, Orange, Osceola, and Seminole, so really throughout Central Florida. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you to talk a little bit about is, particularly as you are becoming well known in Brevard County for excellence in home health care, the types of things that people would give you a call here in Brevard County to have help with.
There's a lot of needs in Brevard County. That's one of the reasons why we're here today, is spreading awareness and being focused on our level of care. Oftentimes we get someone who needs help with light housekeeping. They need us to come and give supports because they're not able to, and they need to have an affordable rate of care. And we also can come in and provide a meal prep and help them have meals for the day and know that their loved one for that day has gone off to work, or maybe they had to go out of town for a funeral. We're there to provide a respite level of care. And sometimes it's just a family member that doesn't want their loved one to be alone.
Yeah, I was going to say, doesn't it happen that there's probably a number of different scenarios? Number one, it could be the person themselves that doesn't have any other ability to get help from people close by. Maybe their loved ones are living in a different state, or perhaps their loved ones are having to be required to be at work during certain hours or things like that, and they're going to have help like that. But then it seems like another area that you might find people calling you for help could be the adult children of a loved one that lives in this area who's maybe out of state, and they say, listen, we really want to make sure mom or dad or uncle or aunt is okay, and there's not really anybody in that area. Could you help us there?
Absolutely. That's why we provide 24-hour, 7-day-a-week care for those exact reasons, because they don't want to give up their home. They want to still live in their own home. They want to maintain their independence, and they want somebody to come in and provide support to them. And we certainly can do that in as little as 4 hours per day or 24 hours per day.
Now, that was one of the things we were talking again before the cameras were rolling. You said, it's really more affordable than people might think. And I guess one of the questions that we do want to cover is, people often ask, well, is this Medicare covered, or what is covered, or is this private pay, or how does all this work?
Well, our services, Home Health Care Resources Corp, are private pay, and we also accept long-term care insurance.
Okay.
Many people don't know that oftentimes that they have long-term care insurance, and they are expecting Medicare dollars to pay for our services as well. Because we're not medical with our clinical services, Medicare does not pay for non-skilled home care.
So even though you might need it, and it might be really necessary, because if you're, if you're home alone and you have trouble transferring and things like that, that's still not considered medical, so you still have to have a way to work that out.
You absolutely do, and we start our rates as low as $17 per hour.
So one of the things that you brought up is that it becomes really affordable to be able to do this. And while you might ask yourself and say, well, if I'm gonna do this, I think the question you have to ask is, what if I don't do this? Because, we talk about, we've done calculations before where we say, well, if you look at the cost of assisted living or those kind of environments, especially if you're not able to have somebody outside help pay for it, oftentimes the cost factor of just getting some help at home so far outweighs the cost of actually having to, either sell a house, move, do whatever is required to get into an assisted living facility. And then number two, the person may be quite happy to be at home. Most people seem to be happy at home. They just need help to be able to do that safely.
Absolutely, and we definitely can do that. And I give free consultations. I come out and morning, noon, evening, weekend appointments, whatever is convenient, to talk about what is a group of services that we can combine and maintain and perform in as little as 4 hours that give the client the most benefit. So we have such a variety of services that really can be a great beneficial need, that we can look at those dollars and those income and the budgets and maximize our resources as well to give them the most services that they can afford.
See, that was one of the things that was impressive to me, is you said, listen, in a 4-hour window, we could come in and we could start with, and you said it better than I can say, but you said, listen, that could start with breakfast, and then you talked about the things that might happen in an entire day.
Yes, we could start with personal care and breakfast. We could, do light housekeeping. We definitely would clean up after ourselves. We could get the linens going and start a load of laundry. We can help prepare lunch and have it ready. And we could go to the grocery store or take someone to the doctor's appointment that they need that day, or maybe they want to go to the beauty shop or the mail and drop off a letter. There's a few things that we can do that, we could determine level of need, priority, and then also our time constraints to maximize those dollars for the budget.
And when we talk about that, the ability to be able to stay safely at home is such an important part of this equation that I assume that people will probably call you in on a regular basis. So does it happen that a lot of times it is the senior themselves who says, listen, I need help, versus having a family member call and say, listen, I want you to look in on mom? Or tell me about some different scenarios that you guys have experienced.
It's literally a variety. It's all about awareness. And you guys do such a great job here with your organization that provides education and resources to our local seniors. And part of that is empowerment and getting the knowledge out there to let seniors themselves know that these services are available, that they too can just call our office. I will gladly come out. You will actually meet with me. I will come out and meet with you and determine what the level of need is, and we will determine what a budget and a schedule. I will send a certified home health aide who is level 2 background check. They have sex offender background checks, OIG verified, their driver's license, their certifications, and they also have to have numerous levels of additional continuing education credits in order to be able to provide care in someone's home.
Now, you used an acronym I wasn't familiar with. You said OIG?
Yes. That's the Office of Inspector General.
Oh, wow. So when people show up at your house, they have really been vetted out. We talk a lot of times, we do shows, because one of the things we do is helping seniors at Brevard. We're always trying to get information in the hands of people, and we cover a lot of things. One of the areas we have to be very, very careful and vigilant for seniors is scams and frauds and things like that. We were talking just literally on the radio show that we do every week for Helping Seniors. We were literally just talking about yesterday about these frauds that seem to be coming up about knee and back braces and things like that, where the scam, and this came from Phil Archer's office, our state attorney, where they're seeing an uptick in number of callers. They're saying, hey, listen, you know, give us a social security number, we'll bill Medicaid and Medicare, and then we'll deliver to your house these back braces or these things, and we can take care of all of it. All you have to do is give us this, it won't be any. And so then seniors are giving out this personal information, which then is being able to be used to do all sorts of things that are not correct and maybe provide things that are not even medically needed. But worse yet, they talk about the scenario where they're seeing where stuff gets delivered to people's homes and then they're getting billed for it, and they never ordered it. And so of course the state attorney's advice is, if you didn't order it and it arrives in the mail and they send you a bill, it's a gift because you're not required to pay for it because you didn't order it. But worse yet, one of the scams that they talk about a lot of times is they say, you know, you go down to maybe it's the community center or it's a grocery store, and they have one of those bulletin boards where everybody tacks up cards, and somebody says, well, this says they will come into my home and they'll do some cleaning or things like that. I cannot tell you how many times, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, that those stories maybe 8 times out of 10 work out fine, but in those 2 times it leads into a fraud situation because there isn't that background check, there isn't that safety factor being considered going in. That has to be such an important part about what you guys talk about.
That's also why our agency, as a non-skilled agency, is also licensed and accredited.
Wow.
We wanted to provide a very well trusted service that our clients could trust in and could also feel comfortable in and have peace of mind to know that we're there and we're running thorough background checks on each and every individual. And also, too, we are licensed. We're a licensed agency, and our caregivers as well provide liability insurance.
Well, and that's so important, too, because what you know is when you're bringing somebody into your house, whether it's yourself, you know, there's a definition under Florida, maybe it's federal law, that they consider seniors a vulnerable population,
Yes.
in the same category that we talk about children. They need protection from certain things because of where they are. And so particularly whether it's yourself and you're in a home and you're asking for the opportunity to bring somebody in to help you with some things, you really want to know you're bringing somebody safe in who's not going to take advantage of that situation.
Exactly, and we also provide supervisory visits for our home health aides and CNAs. We do have a RN who's oversees all of the aspects and job duties and requirements that are governed by our home health aides and CNAs. And we want people to know that even though we're not providing the non-clinical service, we still regulate ourselves in the same manner.
See, I think that's a very important point you just brought up too, and I remember you had mentioned that. So even though you're mainly dealing with helping people with the things that they're trying to organize day in and day out, you have some medical supervision connected in there. And to me, that says that as things move along, because things aren't static, you're in the home, you see what's going on. I assume that if somebody sees something that say, well, look, you know, it's getting tougher for Mrs. So-and-so to be able to do this, maybe we want to take a different level of look at it. But now that you have that communication going on inside the company, that can help move somebody to the next level when they need to.
Especially if you're dealing with someone with dementia or Alzheimer's. And our aides are all, caregivers are all certified and trained in Alzheimer's and dementia care. So they're able to help and recognize signs of change. And they're also able to report back to us, and we can alert the families. So if the family is needing someone to have extra eyes and ears, we're there for those level supports, because we know that care and our status changes daily sometimes, especially with someone with Alzheimer's or dementia. And it's always good to have an extra set of eyes and ears on your loved one.
No doubt. And that's another point that you bring up when you talk about Alzheimer's and dementia. This is another reason why you can't just pull somebody like a neighbor, come sit with mom for 2 hours or something, because they have no background or understanding of how to work in those, those kind of environments.
Especially if an Alzheimer's or dementia client becomes agitated and they're restless or they have sundowners. And a family member who's not trained or informed on the diagnosis, or a family member or friend, they're going to take that personal. They're going to think they're mad at them, or that they're angry, or that they're confused, and they're trying to reason with someone with an Alzheimer or a dementia condition, and that can exacerbate and make their actual response to them worse. And we don't want that. We want people to know how to proactively respond to the client and help them transition from their different levels of symptoms that they're having with their diagnosis. We want them to maintain, a calm and peaceful environment. We want them to feel safe, and we want the person who's caring for that client to be able to handle that situation.
And isn't that where that value of experience and training is making all of that difference?
Absolutely, and that's why we have every year we have our caregivers renew their continuing education credits, such as like you have domestic violence, we have medication errors, we have a situation where there may be, again, the new renewal of Alzheimer's education awareness, the HIV awareness, just so that we're also being protective to our clients, and we're using safe techniques.
Sure.
We want everyone to also know that there's been safety precautions being utilized, so that everyone is protected. And if there is a wound or a cut or something like that, that we're using gloves and we're using all of our safety techniques. We're using the transfer techniques that are proper with lifting through our knees and using proper straight back and gait belts and different transfer opportunities that could actually hurt someone or hurt a neighbor. Our caregivers are trained in safety. So we know how to be very proactive into making sure that the daily transfer of those activities, whether it be using the restroom or in the shower, or even going from wheelchair to a dining room chair or from the bed, that they're being transferred safely.
And the point that you bring up is not only do you guys have the wisdom and the expertise and the knowledge to be able to do this, but even if you are a caregiver yourself, meaning that you have taken on the responsibility for helping that loved one at home, you still have to have a break. We talk about a lot of times the statistics say that oftentimes the person that care is being given for could outlast the caregiver because it is so 24/7, time-consuming, stressful. And at the very least, if you guys are coming in and giving that respite aspect for an existing caregiver, you're probably creating a life-saving situation right there.
We all need a break, and even if you're a family member or a neighbor who's providing the care, you're still a caregiver. And there is a thing called caregiver burnout. And we're not effective to anyone unless we're doing self-care to ourselves and giving ourselves the break when it's needed. So that's something that we can do as well. So let's say you're feeling very overwhelmed, and maybe you've been in and out of a hospital with your loved one, and now they're returned home, and you haven't slept in a couple of weeks, and now it's time for you to go back to work because you've exhausted your FMLA. Now you can return back to work, and we can come in and we can help at nighttime if you're dealing with a loved one who's restless in the evening or has sundowners. We can help to provide a quiet environment so that you can sleep and get rest. Or maybe it's just because you have a lot going on and you need 4 hours. Just let me have a break. I've got to go run. I need to go to a doctor's appointment. I need to have a wellness checkup. We can provide those care for you as well.
So let's say that in the conversation here, this has piqued like somebody's thought that, I should look into this either for myself, either for a loved one that may benefit from this kind of help, or maybe I'm the caregiver who's burned out, or whatever the case may be. How does this process start? Do they call you, or how would they get in touch to just explore how it works?
You definitely could call us. We also have a Facebook page where you can book free consultations online.
Okay, and that's a key. That's a key thing you just said. A free consultation, so that you're under no obligation. You're able to sit down with yourself or somebody from your organization and kind of go over, well, here's what's going on, here's what our situation is, and what would you recommend for our situation?
Exactly. That's exactly how it happened. I would come in, I'd get to see the client, get to see the family, get to observe the environment and see what their greatest needs are. For me, it's just tell me about your typical day. What challenges are you faced with during the day? And then I can propose a plan, and that would provide the most benefit. It also may be something that we work with in conjunction with either a skilled home health care provider, or we work with a community partner to help. It's a full resource. So we put resources in our name for a reason,
right?
Because we wanted to provide the full service of resources for someone. So it's a great opportunity just to sit with someone to say, what services are available to me? Like, I didn't even know these kind of things were available, or that we would benefit from them, and be able to just start from there. Like, just learn about their day. What are the challenges? And let me help them find a solution.
So while we're getting close to being out of time, I want you to grab a pencil viewer so that Kelly can give you the name and phone number, so we can jot this down so you can get in touch and get some information. So again, it's Home Health Care Resources Corporation. Home Health Care Resources Corporation. And I'm going to ask you to give the best number to get in touch with you guys.
The absolute best number. We even have an emergency line available 24/7. It's 321-677-2577. We can also be visited on our website at www.homehealthcrc.com.
And I'm going to get you to give the number one more time in case you wrote it down. You want to be sure you got it straight.
Our number again is 321-677-2577.
It's really amazing to get this kind of insight to understanding what Home Health Care Resources Corporation can do for somebody, and to give an insight into how that you guys are really a resource to help people navigate the aging process successfully and I would say healthfully, because the things that you do will really help somebody stay safe at home longer. So Kelly McDavid Rallis, I want to tell you thank you very much for joining us on Helping Seniors TV today. It's been a pleasure to have you here. And I want to thank you, viewer, for joining us on the Helping Seniors television program. I'm Kerry Fink. Thanks for joining us.
Joe Stackler, thank you for joining our program today. I'd like to remind you that our senior information line is available to you at 321-473-7770. There you can get help and direction that could be helpful for your specific situation or circumstances. The work of helping seniors is very important, but we can't do it alone. That is why our sponsors here in Brevard County are so important. I'd like to thank our many area sponsors, businesses and medical providers who support the mission of helping seniors that help us carry the cost of our media efforts. If you'd like to join us either as a business partner or simply donate as an individual, we would welcome your call at 321-473-7770. You are always welcome to visit our website at www.helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. Thanks so much for your help. It does make a difference.